poker pro, tournaments are where they make their name, but cash games are where they make their living. For a few short days each year, the big game comes to Melbourne, where the world's best poker players do battle at the bays in a bid to build their bankroll. This is the Aussie Millions, and tonight it's all about cash.
Welcome to the Crown Casino. We have bright lights and big money. And our field tonight lines up like this. In seat 1 from the United Kingdom, it is Sam Trickett. Next to him in 2 is Quan Yong, 19 years old, but the son of a billionaire. In seat 3, well on his way to the billion, it is Daniel Negreanu of Canada. In seat 5, one of China's top players, Elton Sang. In seat 6, good at tennis, great at poker, Patrick Antonius. In seat 6, young American hotshot, Daniel Cates. And finally in seat 8, Jason Mercier, also from the United States. 7 players sitting around our Omaha cash table, varying in age and experience. The youngest is in the green jacket on your left. That's Quan Yong, son of a Chinese tycoon. Another player from the Far East, Elton Sang, has picked up a pretty looking set of hole cards.
35 is cool. Cool.
Antonius calls the suited ace and the straightening low cards. Quan Yong being asked to invest another $2,500. His father's hard-earned money. Three, 2, Jack, and Antonius makes the best of that one.
6,000.
Elton Sang comes out charging with the jacks.
Cool.
Quan Yong gets out of the way this time, and that is the wheel for Patrick Antonius.
Jacks.
Aces and jacks for Elton Sang. It's been checked to the fin. And what will Patrick do?
16,000.
Bets 16,000. And Elton Sang has a beady gaze at what Patrick has left behind.
Yep. Cool.
And he makes the call. 9 on the river. Sang does not improve. Patrick pointed out that he only bet 16,000 last time, so he's due some change from his 25,000 plaque. Looks like he would have got it back anyway, because he can only lose to a bluff now, and it's been checked to him by Elton Sang.
$42.
This time 42,000. Elton Sang has aces and jacks.
Cool.
Decides it's good enough, and he is about to receive a harsh education, because Patrick will rake in a pot of nearly 100,000.
She didn't say anything to everyone, though.
Nice to see Omaha being played, given the dominance of Hold'em.
Raise 2-6.
A lot of these players will take part in horse events and other multi-game tournaments, so they'll be well used to the slight change of gear that Omaha involved. Trickett calls, and Antonius
3 players.
also follows suit. Mercier at the moment in charge, but it comes down 9 queen queen.
Check.
Mercier still top dog at the moment.
Check. Check.
Not a great deal of betting. The river card may change that. No, Mercier still on top. Got a straight to a king.
All right. Raise. 18-2.
Patrick with a pure bluff. Of course, with a straight in Hold'em, Mercier would be snap calling here, but many more ways to win and lose. And it's Antonius who gets that one by.
What's the line on the match tonight?
Blinds 500 and 1,000.
You bet it, Tack?
Fairly minimal, although it is real money. These pots can build pretty quickly to 6 figures though.
Four.
You can bet some here.
It's boring when you can't watch.
When Yong lured in,
Oh, wow.
maybe raising here.
Raise 2.5. Cool.
Elton Sang will play. Antonius
1,000.
also joins in.
2.5.
Daniel Cates not interested by the value he's being offered.
3 players.
And everyone with a seemingly even chance of coming out on top here. That'll change. Antonius has got a flush and a gut shot to a straight flush.
Check. Check.
We can see that the Queen of Diamonds is in Kwan Yong's hands, so that's not going to happen. But Antonius still a healthy favourite.
4.
You're on the network. 3G.
Watch out 103.
It wasn't
Cool.
playing
He
on
calls
text,
Kwan Yong with 3 jacks.
text through the Wi-Fi.
I'm on 103.
Cool.
Makes it 3 to the river, and also makes his full house. Jack's full of aces. Patrick checks. $13,000 from Kwan Young.
Fold.
Fairly straightforward fold for Elton Sang. Patrick won't have seen a lot of young Kwan Yong, who's only been casino legal for a year.
Fold.
So he does toss away the flush. Seems rather more bewildered than usual. The young man happily stacks the chips. Can't have been long ago he was stacking bits of Lego. Sam Trickett, pair of queens, 10-8.
Raise 2-6.
Pumps the price up to just over 2,500.
Fold.
Elton Sang
Cool.
will call,
Cool.
and Patrick also wants to play.
Cool.
Daniel Cates, all black, he wants to join in.
Be alive.
4 players to see the flop. So far so good for Trickett, but we have
4
a
players.
long way to go here. 5, 8, 8. Trickett does have an 8. Cates has an 8.
Check. Check.
Let's check round to Antonius. He's coming last in this hand, but tries to buy it.
Call.
Doesn't get past Cates. Certainly won't get past Trickett.
Call.
Elton Sang wants no more of this. Trickett still in front. Cates checks. Trickett also with a flush draw now.
Cool.
And this one will go to the river. Sam Trickett has got a full house. Queen's full of 8s. Daniel Cates being asked the question, and it's going to cost 15,000 to answer. And that was one of the most reluctant calls you'll ever see. Threw it in and started sighing before the chips had hit the felt. Things not going supremely well at this cash table so far for Daniel Cates. But a very strong player. I'm sure he can ride this swing out.
Call. Raised 3.
Negreanu raising with a low ball hand.
Call.
Antonius calls.
Call.
Cates will play. Plenty of people wanting to get involved here. And Trickett joins in the party. 4 to the flop, yet again. Ace of clubs, Jack of spades, 6 of diamonds. Trickett leads.
Check. Check. Check.
It goes check, check. Another spade. Trickett with
11.
2 pairs and a nut flush draw.
Raise 31. Fold. Fold.
Daniel has raised this. Has a flush and a straight draw.
Call.
Sam going nowhere. And they've both made a flush in spades. Daniel's is the lowest and Sam's is the best.
$43.
43,000. Real money, remember. Daniel shuffling his $25,000 plaques. And Trickett's unblinking stare coming at him across the table.
I think we made a good bet. Yeah. Well, you would bet that he doesn't. Well, obviously, right now, the field was hard to. Yeah.
That's straight.
Daniel going through the possibilities out loud, wondering if Trickett has a straight. He makes the call, and he's going to see it's worse than that. Daniel with a tiny flush, Sam with the nut flush.
I get 7. A lot of spades.
Now it's kind of
Good news for the Englishman, and the Canadian goes back to his very healthy looking salad.
11 count.
Fold.
That is not the type of green he wants to be winning at this table though.
Raise to 3.
It's a high roller cash table, 100,000 minimum to sit down.
Fold. Call.
Trick it with 2 queens, jack and 6. He wants to play. And the young pretender, Quan Young, makes it 4 to the dance, and it comes down all diamonds.
Check.
5,
Check.
queen, king. Kate's has a maid's flush. Full house for Sam Trickett, queen's full. Quan Young hops into the lifeboat. Patrick Antonius. 3 kings. A straight draw. Draws to a full house as well.
Raise.
24,000 is the price. Too much for Kate's. Trickett has a full house.
Call.
He makes the call. And the 6 of diamonds on the river means that Trickett is home and hosed.
Check.
Antonius with 3 kings. He's checked 2 by Trickett.
Check.
They check it down, and full house, says Sam Trickett.
Queens full of kings.
And that is good enough to rake home a pot of $60,000. Antonius coming back to the table.
played real fast.
There's no flops.
Sam Trickett passes. Quan Yong passes. Negranu.
Raise to 3.
King, pair of 8s and a 7. He bumps it up.
9
10
5
5.
total. 9 5.
Daniel Cates has raised.
6 5 more.
Alright then.
And Daniel says, okay, let's dance. So the 2 of them
5, right?
heads up, and as we can see,
And I probably should have folded.
not unusual in Omaha, it's 50-50 before the flop. It's a low one. 3-4-3. Negranu has 2 hearts.
19 5.
19-5 is the bet.
Okay, 5.
All in.
No pairs.
You call Daniel.
You want to run it twice?
Are you calling?
Can you just say call Daniel?
Yeah, we're all in.
Cool.
Call. You run it twice?
Yeah.
We're going to run it twice.
Running it twice?
At
Yeah.
the moment, Daniel ahead with the pair of 8s.
Eights. I have flush.
Oh.
And there is the flush.
You're gonna get that one.
Oh, yeah, I just said 8s then.
Daniel Cates seemingly unhappy.
Flush in the first forward and full house.
And he has gone off in a bit of a huff, it has to be said. Daniel Negranu looked rather shocked by that. A little bit of turbulence. Back to the Omaha table.
Yeah, he was doing it all day yesterday.
Round to Jason Mercier,
Raise. 2
who
6.
pumps it up with the 4-5-6-8. Young Quan Yong has kings.
8.
And he pops it back to Mercier.
88.
Not the greatest Omaha hand, but he wants to have a peep by the look of it.
Cool.
2 players to the flop. Mercier jumps in front. Plenty of draws and has 2 pairs.
18-6.
Quan bets out with his kings. Neither player has any hearts, which may slightly put the brakes on their ambitions as this flop develops. But
Raise.
right now,
74 total.
Mercier not messing around. Quan, a scion of a family with deep pockets, but this is $55,000 and more.
Raise.
And more is the operative word, because he has
Twice.
said, I'm going to put you all in.
Want to run it twice or?
Running it twice.
They're going to run this one twice. So far so good for Mercier,
Straight.
and that's a perfect flop for his hand. Running it twice,
Straight again.
and Mercier makes a straight
That's up.
for the second time. An expensive misstep for Quan Yong, and a very handsome salary working its way back towards the American.
Cool. Raise.
Mercier
2-6.
making quick use of those winnings. Trickett more interested in his snack.
Cool.
Quan Young wants another bite at the apple,
Cool.
and Negranu also wants to play. Suited ace for Elton Sang. Would have worked with the last hand. Let's see how he does this time. Negranu a very marginal favourite.
4 players.
It is all diamonds.
Check.
Negranu has a flush.
Check. Check.
4th Street is a queen. And now Negranu seeking to make this a proper payday.
7-5.
Puts 7,500 in the middle. Mercier has got 2 pairs, aces and queens, but sees the danger with those diamonds. Just young Quan Yong to negotiate. He has 3 queens. He'll be having to pair the board. No dice, so Negranu's flush is good. $21,000 is the asking price.
21.
How loose does Quan Young
Cool.
feel? Well, loose enough to call,
Jack on flush.
and with a slight grimace, sees that he was always on the wrong end of that one. So the more experienced players enriching themselves at the hands of young Quan Young, just 19, remember? Not even legal in some casinos around the world. He does know how to fold. And almost certainly saved himself some money with that hand. Elton Sang getting busy.
50.
Both these players have double-suited cards.
Playing how much?
50.
$2,500 real money for Mercier to call, but he likes the price. And as we can see, not much separating them at the moment. Flop will change everything. It is now Elton Sang out in charge. He has two pairs, 8s and 4s. Nobody has a king.
8. Call.
A jack of clubs on the river. Does not improve Antonius's hand.
Check.
He checks to the Chinese player,
Check.
who is not quite secure enough in his hand to risk a great adventure, but good enough to
8s
win.
and 4s. 2 pair.
Pot of just over $25,000.
How much you winning, Jason?
Cards in motion.
I don't know, buddy.
Yeah, now.
Jason Mercier doesn't even know how much he's winning. That's always a good sign.
26.
Right, 2600.
Pumping it up with the cards very similar to the ones that served him well
2600.
against Yan Quan Yong.
What about you?
But he's going to find a customer in Elton Sang.
150, maybe 160.
That's it?
Yeah, don't worry, I'll catch you up soon.
Too much for Antonius.
88.
How much did you win yesterday?
6 times.
Mercier certainly has the wind in his sails,
I won.
so he may want to see a flop with this.
Maybe you a bit more so we could have like a side bet. Just a tiny bit. I like my secret, isn't it?
It's 88. Play the rush.
Play the rush, he says, and he's certainly on one. That big stack of 25,000 plaques building into a tower in front of him,
And a card of 18-6.
and he won't dislike that flop too much. He's pushed in front.
18-6.
There's an up and down draw. No diamonds this time. But Sang only has one, so that will do him no good pursuing the flush.
Cool.
And Mercier again makes the call.
New card of 55.
Trip fours for Mercier. Two pairs for Elton Sang.
How much is in that card? 55,800. What? 55,800. You will win.
An immediate all-in from Mercier. And Elton Sang
50, you're in for 55.8.
not totally committed here,
Twice?
Cool, sure. Alright,
but he
twice.
says all in,
Anything special?
I have 4.
and they're going to play it twice.
Straight.
First time gives Mercier that up and down draw he wanted,
4 straight, 4 straight.
and the second time he wins again. So Mercier on fire,
You wanna flip a brick?
and he sees off Elton Sang. Well, he didn't know how much money he had before, and now I can tell him he has more. 5 players remaining round the table. at our big cash game. Trickett also with a healthy stack in front of him. Seems to have finished his dining
3,000.
appointment. Quan Yong raising.
3,000.
How much are you playing? 40?
Cool.
Thanks.
Mercier asking Quan Yong for a count.
2,000.
Trickett has the aces.
Pop, 12.
And he makes a pot raise.
9,000.
Quan Yong cannot be in love with this hand,
Cool.
but he has the spirit of adventure.
Sam, do you know how much
Three
you're playing
points.
roughly? 400 or so?
Playing like
Now asking Sam for a count.
36,000. Check it
Well,
out.
this would be a knocking of heads between our two chip leaders. Trickett has the aces and the straight draw. Quan at the moment, bottom of the heap. So he'll be keeping an eagle eye on what Trickett does.
17,000.
Quan getting near the felt here.
Fold. 17,000.
So just Mercier for Trickett to get past. Mercier at the moment has kings.
Fold. Heads up.
Makes the call.
In part of 70,000.
7 of spades. That gives Mercier a flush draw. Trickett still in front now.
$53,000.
And he bets $53,000. Mercier's had the Midas touch for the last few hands. He would need to slightly suck out to win this one, but he makes the call, so a huge pot in the middle. And that jack is the wrong colour for Mercier. So Trickett has a lock on this one.
two pair.
Two pair aces and jacks.
Aces up for Sam Trickett. Kings up for Mercier. And that is enough for Quan Yong. Our two big winners, Jason Mercier and Sam Trickett. Joining us in seat 2, a man who seems to be able to stare into his opponent's minds, Tom Dwan.
And back real quick.
How much you have to call on the turn?
40.
Trickett has gone walkabout,
39.
but his chip's still on the table. Round to Dwan. Ace Jack in hearts, Queen 7. Pumps it up.
Cool.
Negreanu lowballing, has a suited ace. Similar story for Patrick Antonius. So Dwan out in front at the moment, but these cards could change everything. Ace 8-3, and that has evened things up. Wheel draws. And now a straight for Daniel Negreanu.
6.
Tom Dwan already drawing dead. Being asked to call $6,000.
Cool.
Negreanu pausing to consider how to extract some cash out of this situation,
25.5 more.
and he makes it just over $25,000 more. Antonius at the moment with 2 pair.
Fold.
And too much for him, and
Fold.
Dwan really cannot call.
Jack is
So low cards win again. And Negranu, the happy recipient of some clay chips.
Make a flush?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's always fun. Apparently she doesn't know I have like 13,000 on Djokovic. Must not know.
Mercier seems to be complaining about his luck on the tennis bets. Certainly enjoying a great deal of good fortune around this Cash Omaha table. Flop comes down 3-7 Queen Rainbow.
Check. Check.
Duan checks as well. 4th Street is another spade. The 10. Duan with a draw to a straight flush. But it is Antonius who bets out. 2 pairs, 10s and 7s.
All in.
All in from Tom Duan, which tears Patrick's attention away from his telephone. Just $15,000, which in the context of this game isn't a great deal.
59 more. Call.
Patrick getting 2-1 to call, and
Running it twice, guys.
that's about his odds.
Full house.
No way.
Why not?
Doesn't take so long to call.
Full house. I was thinking if you had a
Patrick
7, whatever.
wins again. Full house twice, 10s full of 7s. And it all went wrong for Duan on the river, not once, but twice.
Lay it down.
Tom's reloaded. And it is Patrick who goes first, gets out of the way. Round to Jason.
36. Call.
Call from Duan. And now Negranu with middling connectors. He'll see 3 cards as well. 2, 5, 6 in the middle.
Check.
Negranu has a straight. Mercier has a straight.
7. Yeah, 7.
Mercier has a flush draw, and Negranu has a draw to a higher straight.
Raise 23 total.
Duan gets out of the way. Thinking cap on for Daniel.
$53.8 on top of the 23. 76.8.
And he makes it 76,000. Mercier
All in. Call.
all in, and a call from Daniel.
King high spades and nuts.
Running it twice, guys.
Straight draw. 7-8.
Uh-huh. You have 3, 4, 7, 8.
Running it twice.
Wait. Hold on, hold on.
Twice, right? I have
Twice,
hearts
yeah,
now too.
but twice is fine. Just
I
slow down
have
when...
hearts now too.
Patrick telling the dealer to slow down.
There's hearts.
So Daniel makes a flush. And second time around,
You make a pair?
Yeah, 3
So
quarters.
basically I get half my money, right?
they chopped that one. A slight profit there for Daniel.
Ooh, rebate.
Mercier managed to get a little bit back on the second run.
Minus 165. Huh? Murray's minus 165. Djokovic is plus 146. Yeah.
Mercier still concerned with his tennis bet.
I don't know. I'm not gonna send TV.
Raise.
And Patrick, the only one who's played tennis to a high level, not giving them any tips.
There's really not always injury. 26.
Yep.
Is he injured now?
No, for sure not.
I assume you didn't know about him.
No, of course not.
Flop is all spades, king high. Mercier has a flush. Not the biggest one he'll ever get, but powerful enough.
3.
Patrick now with a straight draw. Queen on the river confirms that Mercier has this one in the bag. And they check it down. So Mercier perhaps slightly concerned his spades were too low and he was walking into a trap. Wins a small one, just $11,700.
They're dead even money to win the 4 sets, so Djokovic is a slight favorite to win the 4.
I'm beginning to get the feeling that Mercier
How much of a favorite for a 4?
should be in a bookmaker's rather than a casino, although judging by the amount of money he's got in front of him, he would probably disagree. But he seems very concerned about what's happening on the tennis court. And there's not far shy of $1 million sitting in front of him on the table. Admittedly, Trickett isn't there to guard his. It comes down Jack, Jack 9. Both players with an ace jack. That gives Daniel a full house. Jack's full of 2s.
4.
Tom can still win this one. But that 10 misses out for the young American. So Daniel's boat better than Dwan's trip jacks. And he makes a wise decision and puts them in the shredder. Dwan and Negreanu locking horns there, but the real winners at our big cash table have been Mercier and Trickett.
That's it from us tonight. Join us again next time for more history in the making in the Aussie Millions 10th anniversary main event.